5.5, almost 6 years ago, back in 2016. So I had transitioned into the insurance industry, and I was in the insurance industry for about a year, maybe two, when I got married. And then 6 months later, we found out my son was coming along. So yeah, it's been a ride, brother.
So were you already doing okay when you had your kid and you started your family?
Okay, it's perspective, right? Like if you think.
Welcome to the Gentleman Success, Happiness, and Fulfillment Talk podcast, where we bring to you the most successful, happy, fulfilled gentlemen from around the world who have been able to conquer themselves, their life, their marriage, and their businesses. You will be learning from four-dimensional gentlemen who have cracked the code to the science of having it all. The question is, how can married entrepreneurs with kids become gentlemen, achieve true freedom, and build a successful, happy, and fulfilled life, marriage, and business? This show will give you the answer for that. My name is Alex Ramirez, and I'm your host, and you're welcome to the Gentleman Success, Happiness, Fulfillment Talk podcast. Hello, beautiful people. As always, I'm very excited to have another episode of the Gentleman's Success, Happiness, and Fulfillment Talk. And as always, I have a very special guest, an incredible gentleman who has conquered himself, his life, his marriage, and his business. And he's about to share us about the tool sets, the skill sets, the tactics, the strategies, like how he has been able to do that. But before I actually introduce him to you, I just want to give a big shout out to everyone who has been leaving reviews and comments on the major podcasting platforms, Spotify, Apple, on Google Podcast, and especially to those who have been watching, leaving comments and leaving reviews on YouTube as well. Thank you very much. 99% of people who watch will never leave a review or a comment or take the time to do anything. But the 1% of you who do are the ones who make all the difference. So to you, I say thank you. And today I have Drewbie. Is that right, man?
Drewbie, that's it.
Cool. Drewbie Wilson. And I'm about to read his bio. So Drewbie Wilson, like I said right now, is a loving husband and father who pushes himself to live in excellence. I've seen him. I have months seen him. 4:00. You could have set your watch by his freaking timings, man. So who pushes himself to live in excellence so he can set an example for those around him. At one point of his life, he weighed over 300 pounds before getting focused on his health and losing more than 100 pounds without fat diets or weight loss drugs. He's an action taker with his finger on the pulse, who focuses on service to others above all else, leading him to produce more than 7 figures in revenue, no matter what industry he has worked in. Not one to turn away from a challenge. He looks to get out of his comfort zone as much as possible. From tech support and software in a software startup to vice president in a multi-million dollar consulting company, he understands what it means to start at the bottom and work his way up. A servant first, operating with utmost integrity, humility, but not afraid to tell it like it is. Confidence and empathy are his superpowers. And by going all in every area of his life, he strives to inspire success-driven winners to become the most elite version of themselves. So, man, Drewbie, thank you very much for being here, man. I'm excited. Like, I'm reading your bio, and like in your bio, you literally reflect all of my core values, man. So I'm excited.
Hey, Alex, I appreciate you having me on here, man. It is an honor to be here and share with your audience. One of the cool things about personal development and taking these journeys is that there's always someone there that you can look back and help, who's going through a situation probably very similar to yourself, and that's what I really love doing is being able to reach back and take any success that I've happened to come across in my life and share what has helped me get here with the gentlemen that are trying to make that same success for themselves.
Awesome, brother. So look, the first thing that I do with my guests, man, is I put them on the line. Make them a little bit uncomfortable, since you like to get out of your comfort zone. Because what I'm about to ask is not that easy. I'm about to ask you to like introduce yourself. Well, tell us about your entrepreneurial journey, right? How you went from being at the bottom to working your way up in 70 seconds or less.
70 seconds or less?
Yeah.
Oh, brother, that's easy. So
cool.
I started the game as a young man. I used to sell weed and all kinds of dumb shit as a kid. Obviously, that's not a long-term strategy for success. So I got into sales with tobacco and cigars. I was a bouncer at a cigar shop, got into tobacco and sales, learned that, started selling furniture. Then I sold insurance, got really good at insurance, wanted to sell more. So I learned marketing, Once I learned how to market, I started a marketing company. Then I got connected with coaching and consulting for business owners on how to take that marketing and turn it into actual sales and revenue dollars. From there, I've just continued to grow and build myself and my companies to focus on serving clients and helping them become the most elite version of themselves.
Be brief, be bold, and be gone. Right? Cool, man. That was awesome. That was awesome. So, man, damn, like I'm starting to realize just from listening to you that we had a similar upbringing, a similar story. So let's see. What I want to know is so you started as a young kid, dealing with drugs and stuff, right? Then, well, you realized that wasn't a good formula to sustain success, and then you went to the cigars and all of that, then into marketing, then into insurance and all that. Well, what I want to know, man, is you have a kid, right? You're married and you have kids.
Yep,
So
beautiful wife and a 5-year-old son.
cool. So when did that happen?
I got married back in 2014. So we are just celebrating 7 years of marriage. We've been dating together for a little over almost 12 years. 11, we're going on 12, right?
Mm-hmm.
My son was born, 5.5, almost 6 years ago, back in 2016. So I had transitioned into the insurance industry, and I was in the insurance industry for about a year, maybe two, when I got married. And then 6 months later, we found out my son was coming along. So yeah, it's been a ride, brother.
Mm-hmm. So were you already doing okay when you had your kid and you started your family?
I mean, okay, it's perspective, right? Like if you think about it from the sense of, yes, we were married. We had bought a house when, we knew our son was coming. So we moved out of our rental. We bought a home. Our bills were paid. We weren't struggling by any sense of the means, but like I wasn't where I am now. So like,
Mm-hmm.
was I good? Yeah, but I was also comfortable, which is kind of a scary thing to be as well.
Cool. Comfortable. So why? How come? Like, why is it scary?
Because if you settle, then you're really just deciding to be average, right? And there's nothing wrong with like being happy with where you're at in life, but what I realize is that comfort zone is also dangerous, right? Because what do? Well, you get comfortable, so you eat a couple extra cookies, or you go out to dinner, or you have a few extra drinks, right? And for me, that comfort turned into, putting on a lot of extra weight and making choices that weren't, moving me towards the better version of myself. And with that, when you choose to make decisions in your health and your fitness that aren't for the best, then also those choices carry over into the way that you treat the people in your life and the way that you treat, the business life, and you don't give it the same effort that you could, which typically leads to shit not going as well as it should as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. So then that's why you like comfort zone kills dreams, right? So when did this happen that you were like 300 pounds, that you weighted 300 pounds, and basically you were out of shape and all of that? Was that before insurance? When did that happen?
Yeah, so I always grew up kind of the husky kid. Like I was always the bigger dude. I got up to about 300 pounds early on in my life. I was probably in my late teens, early 20s. I had taken a job third shift delivering radioactive materials. I was at one point in my life a nuclear pharmacy technician, which is like a super fancy name for someone that mixes up radioactive materials and takes them to hospitals.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had done that. It was a third shift job. So I basically like didn't sleep well. I survived on energy drinks and fast food. And that around that time when I was, in my early 20s, I had ballooned up to about 300 pounds. So I kind of didn't like it then. I lost some weight. I actually had gotten from like 300 down to about 215. And I was around 215 when I met my wife. She was my girlfriend at the time. Obviously, you get together, you get comfortable, you go out to eat, you start having a few extra cocktails, you stay in and do less work. And then when she got pregnant with our son, if anybody's ever been with somebody that's pregnant, you put on that sympathy weight, man. You're eating and you're doing all kinds of stuff that you shouldn't. And so I probably went from 215 back up to like 275 when my son was born. And so, when my son was born, I kind of just like ignored it and was like, oh, this is just part of that. But when he was about 18 months old and started walking and moving, I was like, dude, you can't be that guy that's at the park with your son and sitting on the bench out of breath. Like, you got to get your shit together, bro. And, at the same time, my wife and I were having our issues as far as like, a 275-pound man that's clearly out of shape ain't the sexiest thing with his clothes off. And so there was, other things that went alongside of that. And so I kind of had that moment, that epiphany of like, I need to make this decision to get my health and my wellness back in order. And it kind of coincided with the same thing with my mindset side of things too, right? Because you have to dial in your mindset to get the discipline necessary to get yourself in shape. And so I just kind of started dialing in on getting my health and my mind, body back in order, focusing on the routines and the things that are necessary to be not just healthy for a little while, but to create a healthy lifestyle. And so that's really what I started dialing in on, was like waking up early, creating a routine, and, making better choices when it comes to the food and alcohol consumption.
Cool, man. Cool. So, man, I've talked to like literally dozens and dozens and probably hundreds of men up to this point. And in the majority of my conversations, freedom comes up, right? Like, oh, I want freedom. I want time freedom. I want financial freedom. I want, place, location freedom, emotional freedom. Like, freedom always comes up, right? So when I talk about this for freedom, so based on what you're saying, right, you were missing the physical freedom, the mindset and the body and mind aspect, right? And then that translated into the emotional, the sentimental, right? With your relationships with your wife. And then that translated into your mindset, into, feeling bad about yourself and all of that. How did you feel? So like, now that you have your mindset dialed in and you have your performance dialed in, right? So how is like the business performance? Because most married entrepreneurs with kids, most of like the entrepreneurs that I talk to think that they have business problems, when the reality is that they have personal problems, right? And the other three freedoms reflecting in their business. So can you talk to me about like the difference of like your results financially when you had all of the other three aspects of your life lagging, and like now when you have everything like the mindset and the performance dial in?
Yeah, man. It's, like I said earlier, everything kind of correlates, right? So when you're not disciplined with your time, you're not intentional with your workouts. And when you're not intentional with your workouts and you slack off and you skip a couple extra reps, or you cut that workout short, that same thing happens in your business, right? You make a few less calls, you have a few less conversations, you make a little less, effort in that email, and it all just compounds and causes issues. And so for me, it was really about like, hey man, if you don't dial in on these things and you don't really get focused on these areas of creating that freedom, right? Like, everyone says, oh, I don't want to live and die by a calendar. Like, I want to be able to do whatever I want. Well, newsflash, that's the secret. You put it on the calendar and then you get to do it, right? And you got it, like, understandably, that if you're going to, hey, I want to take a 4 or 5 day vacation and not look at my phone, yeah, you totally have the opportunity to do that. So what are you going to do up until that time to make sure that when you're gone on that vacation, shit doesn't fall apart, right? People seem to think that scheduling out these important things like time with your family, or time for, a workout, or for your even just personal reflection, right? Like, people think that scheduling that shit is a waste of time, when realistically, dialing in on the calendar and being intentional with that time is how you get more things done.
Exactly. Like, the only way I get things done is by putting them on my calendar. Any call that I want to get, if it's not on my calendar, I'm gonna forget about it, and I'm not getting it done.
Which is why I was 5 minutes late to this one, because it wasn't on my calendar, and I'm like, I don't understand what's going on here. And then I was like, oh shit, I'm supposed to be here. Like, my bad.
Man, so what made the shift? What made you like decide like, shit, this is enough? Well, first of all, what made you become aware, man? Aware, because like most people are not aware. They think that that's normal. And then they become aware, and then they have to make a decision. So what made you become aware and then be like, you know what, man, I'm deciding to put an end to this?
I think the awareness kind of came from surrounding myself with other men and women who were making that decision to live a different style of life, right? Like, I had to get around winners to think like a winner. It's the, hey, if you hang out with 5 broke people, you're going to be the 5th or the 6th, right? If you hang out with 5 millionaires, you're probably going to be the 6th. I had to get around a different kind of mindset and group of people that help me see what's possible, right? We call it stretching your identity. If you've never been around somebody that has cool shit and you've never like actually seen what it is and realistically how not that difficult it is to get there, like you don't know what you don't know. So getting around those kind of individuals will stretch your identity to see what's possible. And then for me, it was like, hey, I see these people doing all this shit. They're not smarter than me. They're not, any more like good looking than me. Like there's no reason that they can have this success and I can't. The biggest differentiator is the work that they're doing, right? Like the people that are having the massive success, like there's something that they're doing that maybe it's public information, maybe it's not, but I need to figure out what it is. And within that, it was, hey, let me get into this group. Let me find this community of winners. And then let me dial in on the things that they're doing that make them successful.
Cool, man. So now that you're talking about putting in the work, right? You mentioned here on your bio that you've been able to make 7 figures no matter what the industry. So tell me about that.
Yeah,
was it because you knew all the strategies and the tactics, or there's something special about you, or like how have you been able to do that, man? When most people like struggle.
Yeah, so for me, man, making sales, I think people complicate it, right? Like sales really comes down to 2 things: confidence and empathy. So for me, I'm kind of an empathetic person. Like I'm good at asking questions and listening to what people have going on in their life. And, I don't go do anything that I'm not confident in my ability to deliver. So for me, when I get on a sales call, whether I'm selling tobacco and cigars, or I'm selling furniture or insurance or coaching or consulting or market, like whatever I'm selling, when I get on that phone, I know that in my own mind, I've done everything I can to be as knowledgeable as possible to provide a solution to the problem that the person on the other end is facing. Right. So what am I going to do? I'm going to have a conversation with you. I'm going to find out first, what's the problem that you're having? Not just a surface level problem, but like, what's the real thing that keeps you up at night that like, if you could just fix that, everything in your life would be better. I'm going to ask questions. I'm going to understand it. And then I'm going to be confident in my ability to say, yes, I can 100% help you solve that problem. Or, you know what, that's not my area of expertise. Let me connect you with somebody who is an expert in that area, because while I could do the work, it's not going to get the maximum result that you're looking for. So it's better off for me to take you to somebody who can get that result. And I'm okay being that person. I'm okay saying that, hey, I'm not the right fit for you in business. Let me send you to somebody that is. And so that's kind of just given me this opportunity to like focus on serving my clients. So whether it was working at the furniture store and being like, I don't know anything about furniture, but when you come in, there's a reason you're there. You need a sofa, you need a dining room table, you're moving, so you need a whole new, outfit, whatever, right? With insurance, hey, I've got this new kid coming along, so I need to think about protecting ourselves. We need to get better life insurance. We need to get, deductibles on our vehicle. So if we get in an accident, like it'll actually get replaced and we won't be without a car, right? There's little things that I can be confident in my understanding of my product, and then empathetic to the client's needs and say, okay, cool, this is how I'm going to serve you to get what you want, knowing the old Zig Ziglar quote of, hey, if you help enough people get what they want, you're going to end up getting what you want as well.
Cool, man. Cool. That was beautifully articulated. The 2 skills that are crucial for success: confidence and empathy. So empathy, was that something that like you were born with, or is it something that you can build? Is it something that you can develop?
I think it's a combination of both. I grew up raised mostly by my mom. My dad was in and out of our life a lot as a kid, so my mom raised us for the most part. And she was a very caring woman. And so I think I learned a lot of empathy from her. And just over the years, being in the sales game and wanting to always make sure that I'm doing right by the people around me, right? For me, I never want to have a situation where a client's like, yo, that dude made me promises and didn't deliver. Or like that dude said that he could do something and couldn't. Like, I don't want to be that guy. So for me, it's like, how can I make sure that I understand what you're going through and can give you exactly what you need to get there? So I think it's something that I had to develop, as well as learning what questions to ask and understanding how to be a better listener so that I can pinpoint the keywords or the bigger issue that goes on. Because a lot of people, especially in a sales transaction, right, they have their guard up. They're like, hey, this guy's trying to take my money. He's trying to get over on me. Like, sales has this kind of nasty connotation. So for me, it was about dialing in and really developing that skill set of being a listener and knowing how to ask the right questions to get someone to open up and share what's really going on.
Cool. So then, like, if you're listening to this, empathy, and I know for a fact that empathy is a crucial skill for sales. It can be learned. It can be developed. So like, if you're like, oh, I'm not empathetic, no, like, you can go out and start developing that skill and start to consciously put an effort into becoming a more empathetic person. So for confidence, man, I see that you have integrity and humility here as well in your bio. Does integrity and humility have to do anything with the confidence that you have in yourself?
Yeah, man, I think it's about, when you're living in integrity, it's basically saying, hey, I do the things that I say I'm going to do when I say I'm going to do them, right? And I think from a mental standpoint, when you tell yourself, hey, I'm going to go out and run a mile today. Hey, I'm going to go do 50 push-ups. Hey, I'm going to make 100 phone calls. Hey, I'm going to close 2 deals today. Hey, I'm going to go and have a conversation with that beautiful woman, whatever that is, like telling yourself you're going to do something and then actually going and doing it, living in that integrity, it gives you confidence, even when you fail, right? Mm-hmm. Like, one of the cool things about a failure or a loss is that it's actually just a lesson in disguise.
Education, right?
It is. Like, one of the things that one of our guys at the office always says is school is expensive. Sometimes you're spending time, sometimes you're spending money, sometimes you're spending your energy. But you should always be focusing on the lesson, right? What are you learning from that experience so that you can take it and carry it forward to get better?
And failure is the same, right? It is costly. You put in some time, you put in some action, you put in some money, and then you fail, right? But instead of like putting yourself down because you fail, you just take it as a lesson. So just take it as school, right? Like, as learning, right? So cool, man. So then the secret to this success that you've had is, like, doesn't have to do anything with like being different or having this special trait or uniqueness. Obviously you're unique in your own way, but like, it all comes down to keeping it simple, putting in the work and sales, right? So like, what would you say, like, to a married entrepreneur with kids who, like, his major problem, the thing that keeps him up at night is needing to make it work for him and for his family, right? Needing to make the money thing work, the business side aspect of things work. So like, what would you say to him?
I think my biggest piece of advice is dial in on your time and your calendar, right? Like, as a married entrepreneur, I know that it's very easy to dial in and get way too focused on the business side of it and, run the chance of losing your family. Like, I can 100% say with certainty and experience that I've been that guy that worked way too hard to the point where I ignored my wife, I ignored my kid, and I almost lost my family because of it. Thankfully, my wife is an extremely, like, strong person and is stuck with my dumb ass through all of the shenanigans I put her through. Because I couldn't have blamed her at some points for walking away. She chose to stay, which I'm extremely grateful for. And like, I have a lifetime of things I've got to do to make up for that, right? Being a modern gentleman. But I would tell you that the best thing you can do if you're listening to this is dial in on your calendar. As crazy as it sounds to put, hey, family time on the calendar. Again, man, if you just let that be your boss, hey, man, I live and die by the calendar. Whatever it tells me to do, I do. If you pick the right things to go on there, like, you really can't fuck up. You can't fail unless you choose not to do the work, right? But like, dial in on your calendar, get very intentional with the time that you're spending. We all get the same 24 hours in a day. You can't win more of it. You can't buy it. You're not going to get it, Christmas morning and just wake up to a box of like, hey, here's 5 extra years of your life. That's not how it works. We all get the same 24 hours in a day. What are you doing with yours? How are you making sure that every minute, every hour is accounted for as some sort of productive movement? Now, here's the caveat, right? time with your family, time for personal reflection, that's equally as important as that time you spend making outbound phone calls trying to prospect for business. You got to understand for yourself what that balance looks like and what you can get done in that hour. And then you dial in on getting the shit done that needs to get done.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I've experienced this, right? I've experienced that I have the things that I need to do on my calendar, but then like for some reason I don't get them done. And I don't get it done. And then I've seen this in a lot of men as well, that like they know what they must be doing, but they're just not doing it. So like from your experience, why do you think that is, man?
I think it's a matter of people dialing in on why they're doing certain things. If you don't
Why?
have conviction in the reason for that you're doing something, it's not going to be as easy to do it, right? Like, hey, I show up at this job to make money. Okay, like, what are you making that money for? Is
Mm-hmm.
there a reason? Is there something behind it? Like, oh, I only do this thing because it gives me that. Well, okay, like I hope that thing that you're getting from it is worth it, right?
Exactly.
Like you got to really understand why you're doing these things, and it makes it that much easier to go out and do it, in my opinion.
So why do you work so hard, man? Why are you doing what you're doing?
Why do I work so hard?
Yeah.
I want to make sure that my wife and my son and my legacy gets to carry forward, right? I'm a product of a not so great dad that's got three brothers of a single mom, and like God bless her. She did her best to take care of us and left us with a lot of great things that we can carry forward in our lives. So I'm working hard to be the example for those that didn't have it, right? Like my dad was a scumbag, but I can
Mm-hmm.
still be the example of what a good dad can look like, and not just the kind of dad that's like, oh, he's like the perfect guy. Like I've got tattoos. I'm, not perfect in any sense of the word. I've had a lot of failures in my past that people looking at me at the time said, hey, you're never going to make it. You're going to end up in jail. Like you're going to have this, that, whatever happened to you. I can prove now, like, hey, even though all of those things happened, I still have an opportunity to be the example and make a difference in someone's life, primarily my wife and my son, right? Like they get to live a better existence because of the shit I'm doing. And as a ripple effect, I'm setting an example for other people of what's possible for them. Because again, I was a fat ass dude that got my act together and I'm in shape. I was a dude that made 40 grand a year, busting my ass and not being happy, to go in and making multiple 6+ figures, right? Like I've had their bad relationship and made it better. I've done all those things that people experience. So if I can share what I've gone through and help them find any semblance or way to get through it on their end, then I'm living a good life.
Cool. I love it, man. So, man, I noticed that there's a lot of words that resonate with me, like integrity, like humility, like confidence, like empathy. So like I'm curious, man. I'm curious about if you have put in like the time to think about what your core values are.
Yeah, 100%. So our family core values: kindness, respect, generosity, and loyalty.
Kindness, respect, generosity, and loyalty. Cool, cool. Do you have any way like why in that order or anything like that?
No, not in particular. It's just those are our family core values. We're always trying to be respectful of everyone, no matter who they are or where they come from, because if you judge a book by its cover, you never know what story you're going to be missing.
Mm-hmm.
Kindness, because I think it's important to smile and be kind to people even when they're not kind. This is kind of a toxic world that we're living in, right? So let's be kind to each other, smile, and there's no reason to be an asshole. Generosity, because I think the generosity side of it is about like giving, right? If you have a giver's gain mentality, you can't lose in life. The more you give, the more the universe gives back to you. So that's super important. Loyalty, obviously, because we want to be loyal to our family, we want to be loyal to our spouse, we want to be loyal to the people who are loyal to us, and we always want to respect everyone in our circle.
Cool. I love it, man. So, man, tell me a little bit about you're the vice president of Apex, right? So, tell me a little bit about what you do there, man.
So yeah, vice president at Apex. Basically, we are a coaching and mastermind community of like-minded, success-driven entrepreneurs, business owners, and investors our main focus is helping entrepreneurs build their machine, right? A business is essentially a machine with a lot of moving parts. We've taken all the complicated parts of building that machine, simplified it, and put it into a very easy to follow training and accountability system, and then combine that with dialing in on the network of individuals that you can connect with, learn from, and grow with. So it's a combination of that tactical training and accountability and a network of other elite business owners that you can learn from and grow with.
Cool. So like, if I was, let's say if I came across Apex, right, and I was thinking like, what can these guys help me do? Oh, well, you just told it, you just said it to me, but like if someone asks you, what exactly can you help me with? Like, what do you say to them?
We're going to help you become the most elite version of yourself.
Cool. That was what I was looking for. That was what I was looking for, man. Cool, man. So we're about to like run out of time in about 10 minutes, and I like to end up with 5 questions that I ask all of my guests. So can I go ahead and ask you the first one?
Let's dive in, man. Let's get it done.
The first one is, how old are you right now, man? That wasn't the question.
34. Yeah, 34.
Okay, 34. Cool. So if you could go ahead and give yourself, your 18, 20-year-old self some advice, what would you say to him, man?
Other than buy Bitcoin, tell him to trust the process. Like it doesn't happen overnight, but if you trust the process and do the work, you'll be good.
Cool, man. Awesome. All righty. The second question is, what is a mindset shift? A mindset shift that has allowed you to become the most elite version of yourself?
That it's all up to me. Like every choice comes back on, me. Every result, every action comes back to me. So I gotta just fucking be willing to accept that.
Mm-hmm. Crazy, right? Like then that goes back to like taking responsibility, but taking responsibility, that phrase is like so deep. Taking responsibility about everything that you do or don't do, that happens to you or doesn't happen to you. Yeah. So you're in control, right? You're ultimately 100%. In control and responsible for everything that happens or doesn't happen. Cool, man. So the third question, what is a strategy mindset map? Yeah, I'm trying to remember them because I didn't pull them out, but it's a framework. So it's mind. So I talk about 4 things that you need to get results. Money. So if you want more money, more results, physically, results, emotionally, results, sentimental, results, financially, especially, right? Money. There's 4 things that you got to get right. You got to get your mindset right. You got to get your map right. You got to get your emotion right. You got to get your measure right. And then if you get those 4 right, mindset, map, motion, measure, you're going to get the money. So let's see. Now we're in mindset map. We're in map. Okay. So what is one strategy or tactic that you like, strategy, tactic, tool, whatever, that you use to have clarity in your life?
Time block. Like I know every day when I wake up what I'm going to do and what I'm going to be focused on at different points in the day. And that helps keep me clear on what I'm doing and focused on getting the job done.
Time blocking helps you have clarity. So man, what do you think, like what role do you think clarity plays in your life? Because like I see a lot of entrepreneurs who lack clarity of where they are. They lack clarity of where they want to go. They lack clarity of how they're going to get there and who they must become. And like it's all a game of clarity. Even leadership, it's a game of clarity, right? So like, can you talk to me a little bit more about that? About clarity?
Yeah, man. So, on that, the clarity is really just knowing what you want, man. It's like you said, I know what I want because I've done the work to line that out. I've written out what my perfect day looks like. I've taken the time to literally sit down and say, hey, from the moment I wake up, where am I waking up? Who am I waking up next to? Where am I waking up? What's happening in that world? What is going on? Like, what does that perfect day look like? If I could wake up every day and know the shit, like I got it made. What does that look like? I took the time to go through that exercise and write that out word for word and really get into the nitty gritty details of it. And I was able to do that because I've done an exercise called the most elite version of yourself exercise, where I've pictured that, right? So I've taken the time to close my eyes and really embrace and see who that next version of myself is, and then metaphorically taking that step towards becoming that person. That helped
Cool.
give me that clarity and say, okay, that's who it is, that's what it looks like, this is the life they live. Reverse engineer the steps to make that happen, right? What am I going to have to do to go from where I'm at to where they are? And let's get after it.
Cool. So, and then is that exercise that you talk about inside of your podcast or book, Crushing the Day?
It's not in the podcast or my book. It's actually an exercise from my mentor, Ryan Stewman. But if you look up the Rewire podcast episode 284, that is the exercise, the most elite version of your self exercise. So I definitely recommend people checking that out.
Cool. So, man, tell me a little bit about Crushing the Day.
Yeah, so Crushing the Day, that is my book, that's my podcast, that is my lifestyle and mantra. The phrase is crush the day before it crushes you. That all comes from when I made that decision to go on a journey of personal development. I started waking up earlier. I started listening to motivational content podcasts just like this. And I slowly realized that for me to be successful, I needed to get up early and I needed to get the work done as soon as possible. Essentially, I needed to crush the day before it crushed me, because it's real easy to wake up and go down the rabbit hole of toxicity, right? You turn on the news, you read social media, you check your email and somebody's canceled a deal on you. It's real easy to get toxic early in the morning. So my thing is wiring in and dialing in on motivation and positivity and gratitude first thing, and crushing it and just getting the hard work out of the way first, because then the rest of the day is pretty easy.
It's real easy to go down the path of negativity and toxicity, man. It's like real fucking easy. So like even for a high performer like you, for a high performer like me, in which like most of the days I'm crushing most of my days, but like when I don't crush my days and they go kind of good, right, like kind of average, they feel like shit. And just to think, like, and then if you put it into perspective, that's how most people go after. Like most people wake up and they are like, they check their phone and then they like get out of the bed and like shit, and that's how they live their lives, man. And like when I do that in a day, right, maybe I fucked up a little bit and I didn't stuck to my routine, the way that I do every single day, like to with the intention to crush my day. It feels like shit, even though I'm probably doing more than 90% of the world. But like imagine, like I can't imagine, man. I can't imagine like being a quote unquote normal person, right?
I mean, I'm a normal person, right? I'm just a
Well,
normal person who's made decisions to live a certain lifestyle.
mm-hmm.
And what that does is that puts me in a category that's different than a lot of people. It doesn't make me better than anybody. It just means that I've made decisions to be a better version of myself. And that's why I think it's important for me to just be that leader and just be authentically me, because there's probably somebody out there who wants to make different choices in their life, but they're not. And so if I can just be the example and help them make that decision, that's what it's all about for me.
Cool. And then it comes down to humility. Awesome. And I love it because part of my core values are motivate, inspire, and bless. Motivate is about being the example, about walking the talk. Motivate, inspire is about doing it from a place of humility, right? Because like you could be all jacked, but if you're like walking around being like, you're fucking fat and I'm jacked, and you're, out of shape and I'm in shape, or I'm rich and you're poor, right? You don't inspire. So you motivate when you're an example, when you walk the talk, right? You inspire when you are that, but then you do it you come from a place of love and gratitude and humility. And then when you motivate and inspire people, you bless them with the tools and mindsets and skill sets so that they can change their life. So cool, man. My next question is, what is one habit, man, apart from working out, what is one habit that has allowed you to like really step into what you are stepping into right now, to really, live the life that you're living right now?
Gratitude. First thing I do every morning is I write down 5 things I'm grateful for.
Awesome,
being
man.
consistent doing that, starting my day with gratitude every day, it's good shit.
Cool.
That's the game right there.
It is. It all comes down to shifting your perspective, and the easiest way you can do it is by being grateful.
That's it.
The last question, man, is let's see. Oh, about tracking. tracking KPIs, but not in business, because like, you know, that you're supposed to be tracking in business, even if you probably are not. Do you track any other aspect of your life apart from business?
Man, I track everything. I'm a numbers nerd. So I like track how much I sleep. I track, how much I'm working out, calories burnt, all that kind of stuff, because it's, what gets measured gets improved. And so if there's any area of my life that I'm trying to make improvements in, I look at what those KPIs are, and then I find ways to improve upon them. And that's everything in life, whether it's in my fitness or in my relationships or in my business, it all comes back to measurement and growth.
Cool, man. And to achieve money, to achieve results, it all comes down to mindset, map, motion, measure. If you get those 4 right, you're gonna get the money. And like on all my podcasts, I've asked those 5 questions at the end of the interview, man. And all the answers are basically very similar, right? So like, I'm doing this in hopes for like the entrepreneurs listening to like actually get implementing these things, right? Even if it's repetitive, like this is what it takes for success. It's not about like the shiny tactics and strategy. It's about like the basics, right? The principles of mindset, the principles of map being having clarity, the principles of motion being discipline and consistency, and actually putting in the work and measuring, because what you measure grows, like you said. So yeah, man. So Drewbie, man, if I want to, I don't know, learn about how to crush the day before it crushes me, if I want to learn more about Apex and how to become the most elite version of myself, or if anything that you said resonated with me, like where can I get more of you? Where can I find you? Where can I watch your content or whatever?
Absolutely, man. I appreciate that. And I appreciate the listeners taking the time to, kind of learn more about my story and what I've got going on. Best way to find me, follow me, check me out. If you go to connectwithdrewbie.com, that's a link to all of my different podcasts. I've got a book, I've got a podcast, I've got a YouTube channel, social media, Facebook and Instagram are my 2 main platforms, Facebook more so. But yeah, man, happy to help. If anybody needs anything, connect with me, reach out, let me know where you're at, what you got going on in your life, man. And if there's any wisdom that I can impart or ways that I can, help, like I said, man, that's kind of my purpose on this planet.
Awesome, man. All of what you just said right now is going to be right here it's going to show up on the video, and it's going to be on the description of wherever this appears. So really appreciate you being here, man. And thank you, and see you later, man.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you having me. You go crush the day, brother.
Thanks, man. Thank you for watching the Gentleman Success, Happiness, and Fulfillment Talk podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, share it with one friend, leave us a comment, and let us know. 99% of people never leave a review or comment, but we love and are very thankful with the 1% of you who do. If there's something or someone you want to see on this podcast, send me a message on Instagram at Alex_Ramirez1020 and let me know. As a thank you for that, I have an amazing surprise for each and every one of you who does take the time to leave us a comment or review on YouTube or one of the major podcasting platforms